Maybe I didn't hit it. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Welcome to another Coach's Corner. And Coach, why don't you go ahead and tell us who you are and what sports you coach here at university?
Sure. I'm Coach Brian Kells. I coach football and I coach wrestling at university.
All right. And how long have you coached those sports here at university?
Well, I've been a part of both programs for pretty much the entire existence of university. I was the head wrestling coach the first 3 years, then stepped away when you took over as I became the head football coach. But then got back involved. So the last 2 years. So total time, I guess I've been head wrestling coach 5 years, and I've been head football coach 7 years. But I've also been involved with that program from day one as well. So total 10 years for both programs.
Okay. And including all of your time at all your previous schools, how many years total of both sports?
Total 20 years. I've been coaching 20 years, and I've coached both sports pretty much 20 years. So hard to believe. Time flies.
Yeah. Does it make you feel old?
Just a little bit old. Just a little bit.
Yeah. And have you coached any other sports, or has it pretty much just been football and wrestling the whole time?
No, I've pretty much football and wrestling been the main two, but I've also coached tennis along the way. I have a little background in tennis, so I've coached that at Deltona High for about a 4-year run as well. And then I also was the student government sponsor at both Deltona High and University High for a long time as well.
Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, you were set to be the tennis coach at university when you got the job for football, correct?
Correct. Yes, I was supposed to be the tennis coach. Actually, I had forgotten about that. Yeah. And then I got hired in football, and obviously I couldn't do both at that time. I wanted to kind of get up and running with football. So I just focused on that.
So I guess you were the tennis, I don't know, about a week.
Yeah, I guess so. So about a week probably.
Yeah. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, famous for Mr. Rogers. He was the home of Mr. Rogers or Arnold Palmer. Those are two famous people from there. And then me, of course.
Of course. Yeah, Brian Kells is right up there with Arnold Palmer and Mr. Rogers, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Have you seen that movie about Mr. Rogers?
I haven't. I do need to see it. I want to see it, but I just haven't had a chance to see it yet.
That's definitely on my list of movies I'd like to see. I mean, just I don't know. I never really was a Mr. Rogers fan, but seeing the previews of that movie, I think I want to see it. But
yeah, it was pretty neat growing up in the hometown that he was from. I mean, so much around us was Mr. Rogers this, Mr. Rogers that, and the foundation that he created pays for so much in that hometown. So he was a great person, that's for sure.
Okay, so I didn't even know that. Didn't even know he had a foundation.
Yeah.
So, all right. And as a youngster growing up, what sports did you participate in, like before high school?
Before high school, I mean, I did as much as my parents could sign me up for, basically. I did baseball, ice hockey, football. I wrestled. I did tennis, so pretty much anytime my parents could sign me up for something, get me out of the house, they signed me up for it.
Ice hockey, that's not something we think about a whole lot down here. Ice hockey and football, or ice hockey and wrestling, I'm guessing are pretty not comparable, but there's a lot of similarities, I guess, just the roughness and toughness of the sports, I guess. I've always thought that hockey would be a cool sport to play just because you get to hit people. But
yeah. I loved hockey because it combines some of the things from all the sports I did, like you said, with football. With hockey, it could be physical, you could hit somebody, but you had to have a little bit better cardiovascular and a little bit more agility to move around. And then also, it took in the part of stick handling, shooting, and scoring. Hockey was a great sport. I loved it. It was a very, very expensive sport. So I didn't play it nearly as long as some of the other sports, but really enjoyed playing it. Uh-oh. I think I may have lost you, Coach. Uh-oh.
You probably already answered these questions, or maybe it's kind of a self-explanatory. What sports did you end up more or less focusing on in high school?
Sure. When I got to high school, at that point I started kind of tuning in. I did football. Obviously, in my area, we actually had middle school football and wrestling, and it was all run through the school. So I did football, I wrestled, and did tennis. Those are my three main sports that kept me busy.
Some of there, football in the fall, wrestling in the winter, and tennis in the spring, I'm guessing.
What was that? Yeah, that was how it was. I'm sorry, my connection's not that great. I couldn't hear you there for a second. Yeah, football in the fall, went right from that into wrestling, and then wrestling into tennis, which that was the oddball. Most of my buddies did wrestling up there. My football coach, one of them was a wrestling coach, so it was kind of the easy transition, almost expected for all football players to wrestle or go into basketball. And at that point, but then tennis was the one that was definitely my oddball sport that I did that, most people didn't expect me to do. And I love tennis, but I'm just saying most people didn't expect that.
Right. I can see that. And after high school, I know that when you went to college, tell us a little bit about where you went to college and if there were sports involved with college.
Sure. I went to Waynesburg University. It's a smaller school in southwestern Pennsylvania. I played college football there, and I played college tennis there. And it was just a lot of fun. It was a smaller division school, and I got to play a lot right away, and worked hard, and had a great 4-year experience while I was there.
And as an athlete, I know I'm asking these two questions out of order here. As an athlete, whether it's college, high school, or maybe before high school, what's one of the more memorable occasions that you have as an athlete?
A couple of the championships we won. In college we won the conference championship, and just that experience of so much hard work put into it, and accomplishing that goal was a great memory. In high school, one of my most memorable moments was my first ever play as a high school starter. I intercepted the ball and scored a touchdown. So that was my only touchdown in high school. so it was very memorable. That's why. Those are my individuals. And wrestling, of course. I mean, just getting that first ever real win on the mat. That's such a tough sport, and to accomplish that win, that was just awesome. I wasn't a super accomplished wrestler. I wish I would have been, maybe better, but at the same time, getting that win was awesome.
Right. And then I have the same question as a coach. Do you have a memory that sticks out, or maybe one or two memories that stick out in your mind as being one of the more memorable occasions?
Yeah, sure. I mean, each of my sports, I kind of have some memories that really stick out. For football, there's two. One was the first ever win. We got as a head coach when I was a head coach. That first win was against Deltona, of course. So that was a fun, memorable moment. And then for football, probably the biggest or most memorable moment was the night we beat Lake Mary and clinched what was our first playoff spot. And it was just such a awesome memory. I remember our kids were so excited, and to see that that whole thing come together was pretty awesome. For wrestling, it was definitely the first time we had a state qualifier at Deltona High, and way back when in early 2000s, and Chris Schultz was his name, and that was just a pretty cool experience to be able to see someone I coached get to states, be a state placer. It was just pretty awesome.
I remember him, a little fella.
Yeah, he was little, but he was fierce, and he did really well, and he placed that year, so it was awesome.
Yeah, he definitely was a little fella. And he was fierce, no doubt. I hated seeing him on the other side of the mat come out.
Yeah.
um, but let's see. And as a coach, what is one thing that you hope your athletes get from being on a Brian Kells coach team?
That's a good question. Big thing I hope is that they learn to enjoy life. I try to make it fun for them. I want them to, obviously we want to win. We want to teach them all the characteristics to be a successful young person. But I want them to learn to have fun, to laugh a little bit, not always to take everything so serious. But I hope that somewhere along the way in the 4 years or whatever, how many years I have them, they learn one little thing that they take on, and that maybe down the road 20 years from now they teach to their child, or they teach their group of kids that they're coaching. So, and whatever that one little thing is, it may be something as simple as teaching them to tie a tie, or maybe it was something we showed them on video that they did, or being silly. So there's a lot of little things I hope they get from my teams, but I hope that they learn to have fun and enjoy the sports, because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. I tell the kids all the time that, wins and losses fade. The memories that you have together, the fun times, those goofy times you have in the locker room and off the field are the things you remember probably the most. So that's what I hope.
No doubt. No doubt. The crowded van rides and the four people to a hotel room and stuff like that are the ones you remember the most, no doubt.
Yeah.
And what I mean, you've been at university since it opened, so obviously you enjoy it there.
Yeah.
And what's and the answer can't be your wife, because I know that's going to be your answer. Okay, so what's the best part of working at university?
Well, outside of my wife, it's just been the experience of opening a school and seeing it grow. It's almost kind of like having your own child, and being part of that and seeing it grow. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people that make university, and seeing it and grow from, what was called Triple D school when it first opened,
Right.
to where we're at now. Has just been a really cool experience, and that's what makes it so fun. And it's the people there, and the experiences of being part of that.
Right, right, no doubt. And to your athletes and your parents, because I remember in one interview where, what was it that you were called? I think it was the News Journal or someone like that. What were you called? Like the no offense, Gary Blair, but like the mayor of Orange City or something like that. So therefore, you have fans.
It
But
was it was in reference to Arnold Palmer, because he was like the king of something, and so, and Arnold Palmer's from my hometown, so the guy made a reference as the king of Orange City that night. It was the night that we had qualified for the playoffs. So
okay. Okay. I knew it was something. I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but I knew it was something like that. But what would you like to say to your athletes and the parents and your subjects and the and your in your kingdom?
Sure. I mean, we just miss them, and I look forward to the day we get to get back together and get back to work. And I hope they're staying safe and following all the protocols. But I know myself and all of my coaches that work with me just can't wait till the moment we get to get back together and get back to work.
I'm glad that the audio finally kept up or finally caught up to us, because I saw that you had finished and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to ask that one again. But then the audio kept up or caught up. So, and here's a question you didn't get a chance to prepare for, because I added it after I, sent the questions out to everybody. So, if you could have dinner with any four people or alive, who would those four people be?
Oh, wow. Four people that are alive. So obviously,
No,
every
dead or alive.
oh, dead or alive. Well, I have dinner with my wife every day, so obviously I'll keep her, but she's already there. So, but outside of her, let's see. I'd love to sit down with Chuck Noll, the head coach of the Steelers that won all the Super Bowls back in the late '70s and early '80s, and just pick his brain. He's just such a great leader of men, and just love to sit down and talk with him. That's a good question. Who else? I'd like to sit down and talk with Mr. Rogers. I got to see him speak a few times, and just to, he was a motivator of people, and to see how successful he was, and with his show and what he did, his messages he sent out, I thought were just amazing. I'd love to speak with, JFK, president. I mean, who wouldn't want to talk to him? Pretty awesome individual. And then, I don't know, the fourth one's tough. Who would it be? I don't know. Dead or alive, huh? Got to see. I'm trying to think. Putting me on the spot with this one. It's a good question. Fourth person, trying to think of maybe I don't know, maybe a Matt Weaver. Sit down and pick his brain some more. I don't know. I'll have to leave that fourth one open. I don't know. I don't know anybody off the top of my head that sticks out there, But I think I try to pick different people from sports and kind of go that route.
No doubt. And I have to say that those are definitely, at least the three of them are definitely different ones from the couple of coaches I've known to ask that question to. Obviously, Coach Knoll, that's definitely along the realms of the couple of coaches I've gotten. But the Mr. Rogers, that one's definitely different than anyone else. JFK, that one is definitely a different part of the ballpark. And I mean, that's an interesting mix you got there, Coach. So that would definitely be an interesting conversation. But at the same time, like you said, all three of them are great leaders. So that you'd probably hear a lot of the same thing, but from a different perspective.
Yeah, true. So true.
Yeah. That's interesting. And honestly, I'm surprised we didn't get off topic. We've known each other for a while now, so maybe that's why we didn't get off topic, just because I know you better than any of the other coaches I've interviewed, so I wasn't totally caught off guard by anything that you said. I don't know, but
we do a lot of talking anyways off camera, so I'm sure that's part of it too,
Yeah, that could be. But you got anything else for us, Coach?
No, man. Thanks for having me on, and I've enjoyed your Coach's Corner, and I'm excited to see another teacher at UHS taken to the video waves. So it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for those people that don't know, this Coach's Corner wouldn't have happened without the guidance of Coach Kells, because I had to text him and ask him, how do I do this? So, yeah. But anyways, appreciate your time, Coach. And
Thank you.
So that's it for today's Coach's Corner.
All right. Well, have a good one, Coach. Thank you.